Hey, ladies and gentlemen from Apple Valley, 8th grade, I am so glad that you are here. As you can see, this is our first day of distance learning and learning from home, and we are going to do a couple things here. And our first lesson today is going to be on reading for information. This is, if you are familiar, Ri8.4. That's maybe how you see it. And we're reading for information. This is going to be stuff that is true. So we've got informational text is another way you might hear this said. So this says, determine the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in a text, including figurative, connotative, and technical meanings. Analyze the impact of specific word choices on meaning and tone, including analogies or allusions to other texts. Now, your teachers in your classes have done things like this, whether you've done it as a small group, whole group, and so you're familiar with this, but we're just going to touch base and make sure we are very familiar with what this means. So I'm just going to start and do a close reading. Determine the meaning of words. So I'm going to start looking at this, and we are going to talk about context clues. When you are determining the meaning of words, go back. Go back and look at that text. Look back and make sure you know what you know, because you could, well, it's just best to go back and look at context clues. Go back. When the question says go to paragraph 3, go back and look. It doesn't take that long. Take a minute and do it. So the meaning of words, we're looking at context clues, going back in the text, and phrases. So it doesn't just have to be words, it can be phrases. So you might have a quick phrase here with a couple words. Again, go back and figure out the bigger meaning. So you can see that. So determine the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in our text. This is our selection. Whatever selection is, whether we're doing a News ELA, whether we are looking at a document your teacher gave you, or looking at something on the EOG. And we are going to include in that figurative language. So the figurative language would be things like allusions. IONS, I think. Alliteration. It's going to be especially prevalent in things like poetry. That's typically where teachers put that figurative language, but this is sprinkled all over. It makes informational text better. It makes prose come to life. That's going to be your fiction here. Any kind of story. You might see things like a metaphor or a simile to help things come to life. And I know Miss Rusick's class has done a lot with idioms. So we might do a video on that, because my class, and this is Alicia Lida, my class has not done a lot on idioms, so maybe we'll use this as something we can do later. These are often also called figures of speech. And so you're going to be looking for this figurative language, the figures of speech, and these are some things that you might recognize. Now, we're moving from including figurative meanings. We're also talking about connotative meanings. Now, this is your feeling word. You may not know what a word means, but you can figure out that, oh, that sounds positive, or this definitely sounds negative, or it may be neutral. So when authors want you to feel a certain way and determine those words, they might use some words that you're not familiar with, but you're going to get a feeling, and that's the connotative meaning. And then we have our technical meanings. And these technical meanings might be something we see in a recipe, instructions on how to do something. These are very specific. SPECIFIC. There's very specific technical things that you would be looking for in like an instruction on how to set things up. So we're looking at figurative, connotative, and technical meanings. Then we're going to analyze. When you analyze, of course, you're at Alicia Lida's class, you probably already started saying, I'm going to read, reread, ask questions, make connections. So these are things when you are analyzing, you are thinking about what this means. You are making connections to this. You are asking questions about what this means. When you analyze work, you are drawing conclusions. And look here, impact. This is if I can say the same word to you in two different ways, and you definitely will understand that impact or the effect of that word. Those of you in my class, think about the effect wall and how that looks. Is it to persuade, to entertain, to convince, to humiliate, whatever? What is the impact of that specific word choice? And here we have this author's choice. Why did that author choose that specific word? What is the author's purpose? And you see that a lot in testing questions. And what are they trying to do? So they're using specific words to determine meaning and tone. Now, when we get to tone, let's talk about this for just a second. Tone is the author's decision or the author's purpose. Ooh, there, that says purpose right there. The author's purpose is tone, and tone is all about the author. Is this author's tone positive, negative? And most of the time, while there's a neutral, you are definitely, especially on something like, say, for example, uniforms, you're not going to get someone to write a paper on uniforms that's neutral. You hopefully, if the author has done a good job, going to get that they are not in favor, that would be uniforms would be negative, or that it's going to be positive. This is the author's tone. This is how they want the reader to feel. That's their tone. So we're looking at those meanings and tone, how that word choice affects the whole piece. And they might also include analogies, which is just a fancy word for comparison. And they are comparing something, maybe new info, to something that is familiar, so that you have a connection. So you have that connection to new information, to something that you already may be familiar with. And we have the allusions to other texts so that you better understand what they're trying to get across. This allusion is allude, I'm going to put allude to another text. Now my favorite allusion. Ooh, reference. I'm going to put, yes, R-E-F-E-R-E-N-C-E. That was Miss Rusick. So a reference to another text. My favorite one is if somebody asks me for something, I'm like, what do you think these are? Magic beans? And I would be referencing or alluding to the fairy tale many of you are familiar with, Jack and the Beanstalk. So if you can look back up here, we have a connection. Here this says allusions, and we already talked about allusions with the figurative language. So this is kind of this close reading of our standard as part of our review of the standard while we are doing our Learn from Home model. And we really want to focus on the meaning of words and using those context clues. We want to review that figurative language. A lot of times you see it in poetry, but it is everywhere. Connotative meaning of text, that's how you feel. Technical meaning, that's something very specific, like instructions on how to set something up or recipes. Why authors use specific words and their impact of those specific words on things like tone and mood, except for this one is informational text, so we're really not doing mood, and analogies and allusions to another text. Now, with everything, you want to make sure and do an analysis. You're reading together information. You're not just reading words. You are reading because someone has put those words together and they want you to collect information. So to get that word and say they have their information here that they want to share, you're going to add that to what you think, and you are going to create a whole different idea. So this is thinking right here. This is what you're doing. You're putting somebody else's idea with yours to create something new. You are synthesizing that information. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this was helpful, and we look forward to adding more videos. Please contact your teacher if you have any questions using email or Google Classroom. And I hope you enjoyed your first Learn from Home lesson. Thank you.